So in SCCM 2012, now we'll go for client settings. In SCCM in administration part, we have the client settings are available. So we have the default client settings. See, first of all, we can see what exactly the meaning of the client settings. So we have the SCCM server. So this is my SCCM server is there, and I have the client is there. So I have the Windows 7 client. So how the Windows 7 client it can able to communicate to a SCCM server, and how the SCCM server is trying to update in the policies to the client system. So this will be deciding by the your client settings. So where you can monitor this client settings in the client computer. So I'll show it. So I'll go for one of the Windows 7 client computer now. So this is my client 2 is there. After installing client software, if you go for the control panel, we'll get one icon name, configuration manager icon. So better thing, I'll create a shortcut for this icon. So if you open this one, so mainly in the components, see in the components, it displaying what are the components are installed and what are the components are enabled. So example, hardware inventory agent is enabled and operating system deployment component installed. So like this, what are the components are installed and which are enabled, this we can able to find out. Say example, here you can see this one. Say example, remote tools agent is disabled. It's not yet configured actually. So now example, this remote tools agent only, if you want to enable it, from the client side we can't able to enable anything. This will be deciding by the your client settings only. If you want to enable these options, these will be deciding by the your client settings only. So next one, if you go for the actions, see application deployment, evaluation cycle, discovery, data collection cycle. So there you got some options are available here. You can see this one, run. So what is the need of this run? Why do you require? So example, we have the mission policy retrieval and evaluation cycle is there. Is by default for every 60 minutes, that means for every 1 hour, the policy going to update. So this is the meaning from SCCM server. Even if you go for any modifications also, say example, I install some software, but this software deployment it won't apply immediately. It will take nearly some 1 hour time, because this mission policy retrieval, what exactly do means it is a run. The client computer requesting to your SCCM server, boss, do you have any updates to me? So these are the client settings are available. So now we'll go for an SCCM server. See, I have the default client settings. See the default client settings, what exactly do? This default client settings will apply to all computers, all the systems. What are the policies if you are modifying here? These policies will be applying to all the systems. See here, the policies you can see this one. If you go to properties, so these are all the policies are available. Cloud services, client policy, complaint settings. So like this we have all the policies are available. So example, the client policy. The client policy interval, cooling interval, by default you can see for every 60 minutes. So this we can change it also. But if you change it the policy here, this policy is applying to all the computers. And we can create a customized policies. Say example, I want to apply a policy for specific computers only, not for all the computers. See, first thing in the client settings, I will show how to create a customized device policy. See, create custom client device settings. Say example, my customized policy for remote tools. I'll show only for remote tools now. So here I'm selecting the policy for remote tools. Say it is okay. See, I got a new policy, my customized policy for remote tools, devices, the priorities. See, we can have the priority starting from 1 to 10,000. So this policy now I can deploy also. I can deploy this policy to the specific systems. Now I'll go for assets and compliance. Say example, I have the Windows 7 client 1 is there. So this is my Windows 7 client 1. So in these components, say example, the remote tools agent is disabled. What exactly I require means, I require the policy only for this system only, a group of the systems otherwise. So I require here in the components, the remote tools agent, I want to make it enabled for this computer, Windows 7 client 1. What you can do is, first of all go for SCCM server. See in the device collections, create a device collection. So example, my Windows 7 test PC. See in the browse, go for all systems, click next, and don't apply the any membership rules. Click next, OK, click next, close. So I have the new policy, my Windows 7 test PC, but the member count we have the 0. So this Windows 7 client computer, Windows 7 client 1 is there. This I will add to device collection group. So there you got option name, add the selected items. So already I have the device collection created. So in which device collection? My Windows 7 test PC. So click OK. Now if you go for device collections, If you go for refresh it once, so wait for some time. See now my Windows 7 test PC, we have the one count, the one system is available now. Windows 7 client 1 is available. Now I'll go for administration. I have this is the policies there, and this policy I will deploy to this group only. My Windows 7 test PC. So it is okay. So just go for refresh. Then is now configure the policy now. So just go to the properties. I have the remote tools. See by default the remote tools is not enabled. So I'll go for configure, enable remote control on the client computers in domain wide, private and public. Say it is okay. Click OK. Now we'll go for Windows 7 client computer now. So in the configuration manager, if you go for the components, now check for the remote tools. The remote tool agent still you can say disabled is there because the machine is not refreshed immediately. The client is not able to contact immediately to a SCCM server. So simple way, you go for actions, machine retrieval policy, just run on. Now go for the components. So still it taking a little bit time. So better you can run all the policies once. Run now. So go for configuration manager and components. So you can see the remote tools agent is enabled. So now this customized policy I have applied only for Windows 7 client computer only. Now if you go for one more system now, this is a client 2. Even if you go for the configuration manager, in the components you can see the remote tools. The remote tools agent you can see disabled. Even if you go for actions, even if you go for run the machine policies now, but in the components the remote tools agent you can see disabled because the reason you can say the customized policy I have applied only for only one deployment only. The deployments are given for my Windows 7 test PC collections. In my Windows 7 test PC collection, I have the Windows 7 client 1 is there. This policy is applying only for the particular systems only, the particular device collection group. Whereas you can see the default collection client settings, this is the policy is applying for all the systems. See in the customized client settings, we can able to create one thing, create customized client device settings and client user settings also. So I think according to naming you can understand. Device settings means these settings will be applying for only for this device collections only, and user settings means this policy is going to apply to the selected users or group of users. So we can create a custom client user settings also. Example, my user policy. I'm using the user and device affinity. Say it is okay. So I got this the policy. See the priority we got two. Say example, if the multiple policies are there and which policy has to apply first, we can increase the priority, we can decrease the priorities also. So the default client settings, this we can't able delete and we can't able change the priority. The customized policy settings we can able to delete also and we can able to increase the priority also. Say example, if you go to the properties here, so user affinity, see allow the user to define the primary devices. Says, say example, now I want to deploy this policy to which users. So we got all users are available, but the member count you can say 0 because the reason in discovery methods. So Active Directory user discovery is not enabled. So just enable this one. So select the Gayatri group domain, apply, yes. See now in SSN compliance under user collections, we got all users and user groups. We got member count 3 are there. So these are the user accounts are created in the Active Directory. Already we have the administrator account and I created the SCCM user and SQL user. Now we'll go for user collections and create user collection. So example, I'm giving the name my admin team. In the limiting the collections, I'll go for all users and user groups. Okay, next, next, okay. So we got like a my admin team is there, but the collections, the member count we got the 0 and all user and user group select now. So example, in this user collections, I'm selecting the administrator and SCCM user. So these two user accounts, add two selected items. Already we have the user collection I created, my admin team. Now if you go for user collections, in my admin team, if you go for refresh, we got member count 2. Now this is the policy, user policy is there, and this we can deploy to my admin team. Then this policy is going to apply, this policy is going to apply only for those two user accounts only. So this is called as a user policy settings, client user settings, client to device settings, the customized things. So I'm not creating right now the customized policies. So example, if you want to show like a the customized policies for remote tools, so just to go to the properties, I'm going for remote tools now. So user can change the policy notifications in settings in software center. So what is the meaning of this one now? So I'm going for the client PC now. So we have the software center is there. If you go for all programs, so we have the Microsoft System Center 2012. We have the software center. So by the software center, we can able to deploy the softwares. What are the available softwares are available, and installation status we can able to find out, and installed softwares and options. So in the options you can see we can specify the business hours. So we have the default, you can say 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and the default you can say Sunday and Saturday is holiday. And the power management options, see here you can able to change it. And the computer maintenance option we can able to change it. And what about remote control? See the remote control option, we're not getting the any options here. So because in the SCCM server, in the client settings of the remote tools, user can change the policy or the notification settings in the software center. And if you say yes, and you can change the settings now. And if you say okay, and I'm saying the refresh. Now I'm going to client computer. Now in the client computer, still you can see this one is not updated. So because the reason now, so just run the policy once. So the mission retrieval policy. Now I'm going for the software center. So now in the software center options, see, use the remote access settings from your IT department and level of the access. You can able to change the settings now. Go for SCCM server. I'll go for remote tool settings. Just I'm going to properties, remote tools. See, allow the remote users, remote control, unattended computer says, and prompt user for remote control permission. So I'm giving all these options, and which user has to access the permission now. I'm going for select viewers, browse. So here I'm selecting the username is administrator. So it is okay. So click OK. See, allow manage the remote desktop settings. Says, and level of access. So the options are there. This you can make it as yes, all the options. Is a full control. So allow the permitted viewers. So just refresh the policy now and go to client computer And in the configuration manager, in the actions, mission retrieve policy, run now, say it is okay. So I'm going for SCCM server now. In SSN compliance, I'll go for device collections. So right click here and go for start and say remote control. The Windows 7 system firewall is on. Just to make it is off the firewall. Even this policy also we can control it. So go for configure. So now we'll go for this policies now. I'm not using the user policy and just to go to the properties. See in the remote tool policy, so I'm using the firewall expression policies profiles for the private and public. So user can change the policies notification as is not necessary and allow the remote control for unattended computers as see prompt the user for remote computer permission and granting the permissions for local administrator and access level allowed full control and have given the permission for administrator. So here I'm not selecting anything here, so just cancel. So now we can go for SSN compliance. So select Windows 7 client 1, go for start, just click on the remote control. See now it connecting to the host session and asking for the remote user. If you go for Windows 7 system, we got asking for permission now. Say approve. Now if you go for SCCM system, see we got the remote control. So what are things we can able to do here? Everything. So the same thing will be appear in the Windows 7 system now. Suppose let us say example they should not ask any permissions now. We'll go for Windows SCCM system now. See in the SCCM system, if you go for administration, in the properties, in the remote tools, see we got option name prompt user for remote control permission. We got S is there, I'm making as a no. So this is a policy, just say refresh it once and after this one go for Windows 7 system, go for actions, mission policy, run now, click OK. Now go for SCCM system, SSN compliance, Windows 7, start, say remote control. See, without asking to the user, it's automatically we can able to access the remote desktop. So like this way we can able to configure the client settings policies. So in administration these are different policies are available. So one is the device settings policy and user setting policies. See the customized device settings policies will be applying for the a group of the device collections. Whereas if you go for like a default client settings means this policy going to apply for every systems now. So example, I will delete this policy now. So if you go for the properties, so example, this is the bits is not necessary now. The default will be enabled. The default will be working now. Like the bits basically using for transferring the data between the client computers, and the cloud services not necessary. In the client policy, so we have seen something called as the mission policy retrieval. For every 60 minutes this is going to update it. So otherwise for every time we have to go for Windows 7 client system side and go to actions and the mission policy retrieval. So we have to run for every time. So this time we can make it reduce the time. Example, the minimum time it will accept 3 minutes. Depend for every 3 minutes the mission policy is going for retrieval. Suppose the user policy is created, we can go for enable user policy. And the compliance settings, so evaluations, so this by default enable with it, and you want to schedule for every 1 day. And the computer agent, so here you can see deployment deadlines. This complete using for software deployment and deployment deadlines. These options we can go for. And computer restart, say example, when you go for some software updates and operating system updates, the system is going to restart. So it gives some 90 minutes time. It asks you for user, do you want to restart the computer, or within 90 minutes the system is automatically going to restart it. So end protection for the antivirus, so right now we are not configured the antivirus. And hardware inventory, so by default S will be there, and the scheduling, you want to change the schedule, you can change it. So let us say example the hardware inventory, I'm going for every 1 day. So if you change the policies here, and these policies will be applying for, see every time the actions, so the hardware inventory cycle it not less run for every 1 day, this is going to update it. And metered internet connection, this for basically designed for Windows 8 client computers. So you want to block the particular sites, some amount of the data, only 1 GB of data you want to allow it. And enrollment, this for mobile devices. So allow the users to enroll mobile devices and Mac computers. And network access protections is not enabled now. And power management tools, and you want to go for like a LAN wake up, we'll go for like a wake up LANs. And the remote tools just now we have seen, and you want to configure the remote tools, say go for configure, enable. So not necessary. So prompt remote control, no. So full control, and I'm selecting the user accounts as administrator. The username is administrator here. So these options are making it default options and everything, so it is okay. In the similar way, in the software deployment, so the scheduling by default you can say every 7 days is there. Let us example for every 1 day, or if you can say for every 1 hour. and the software inventory. So by default S will be there, and schedule. So I'm making it for every 1 hour. See, for the lab practice purpose I'm making is every 1 hour. So software metering not necessary. And software updates. See here you can say by default software updates will be enabled, and the scheduling you can say I'll make it as a so here when any software update deployment deadline is reached, install all other software update deployments. So let us example, maybe we provide some deadline within 1 hour only the software has to install. So we can provide like a deadline. After deadline also you want to install something, we'll go for these options. So like this we can able to configure the default policies now. So I'm deleting the policies, this customized policy. I have configured the policy for default client settings policies. Now if you go for some Windows 7 client computer, second computer is there. So in the configuration manager, if you go for the components, so you can see the remote tool agent. So I have given the time for what is 3 minutes to update the policy. So otherwise just you can say mission policy retrieval, say run now. And if you go for the components, so the remote tools agent is enabled. So this policies, the client settings policies right now is working now. So in this way we can able to configure the client settings policies. So here we have seen default client settings policies and the customized device settings policies and customized user settings policies.